insane mechanical skill in that last team fight to turn things around. And man, Valdez, I'm getting more and more excited about where the series could be going, because I think Afreeca definitely could bring this one back as well if they have another solid draft. This is a tense one. So much on the line here with playoffs looming. As we will see once again that Lilia ban, or not. I'm pretty sure it's still there, yeah. Sometimes
it's like Stranger Things, like everything's flickering. Okay, so
pretty similar to previously. Delight getting the Recon ban very early this time though. And Afreeca are going to go straight into the Hecarim first pick here.
Yeah, Hecarim and Udyr are both left available this time around. The Thresh as well. So a lot of power picks still left on the board after this one.
I mean, Aphelios Thresh is something that Afreeca could grab here right away. With the Kai'Sa coming through, I think it's less likely they'll pick the Thresh themselves. And take the Udyr instead, as you were mentioning. And Afreeca can get that Thresh rotation right now if they really want to lock that one up. Put Bang on a late game carry in the Aphelios. And then they could draft now their last part of blue side here around where Fredit Brion take their support line, or could focus on the mid lane. Alternatively, you can try to get Fly a blind pick here on something like the Orianna. Again, minimize the risk. Take the Varus here into the Udyr. You know, most commonly discussed right now why people are picking Varus in Korea is about his range and his ability to poke. That can be strong against the Udyr, but we have a lot of questions about Fredit Brion's comp. To be going down that pathway this early is a bit unusual.
Let's see the Thresh. Nope, Alistair.
Okay.
I would have liked the Thresh. Alongside of the Varus, you have great 2v2 potential as well, just with the amount of CC you have. Alistair obviously has a bit of that as well, more of a defensive pick overall.
Fredit Brion right now, I mean, they could take the Thresh themselves here, but they're going to get Syndra. And now they can ban the Azir as well as the Orianna if they want to push Fly into an uncomfortable position. Something like a Victor requires Fly to be much more up in the face of Fredit Brion. It's a much tougher champion for him to play in terms of positioning. I mean, I don't like to really take... I don't personally enjoy talking about Fly being unable to play some of these difficult champions, but, you know, the truth of the matter is he has been at his best when he plays a champion that's very easy to execute. But they actually go towards Keen's Gnar instead.
Yeah, they denied the Gnar for now. Keen has a relatively nice champion pool overall. He's played many different picks. I'm actually looking at it right now. It looks like 14 unique picks in the top lane role. So the guy can certainly reach for many different types of things.
Yeah, deepest in this game across all 10 players. They banned the Orianna. Azir is still open. Doesn't have great synergy with the Hecarim pick all too often. In terms of, you know, mid picks, like in the lane, he's very strong, but sometimes the Emperor's Divide is very difficult to pair with Hecarim's ultimate because of the dispersion there. And sometimes can have some anti-synergy. Obviously depends on every single team fight, but the consistency just is tough to pull off in those team fights. And Gragas gonna come in here as the blind pick top side for Fredit Brion. They'll save the last pick for support. I mean, the Gragas could be the support as well. It's a flexibility you get with a pick like this. So this is a really solid point that Fredit Brion are in right now with draft. My biggest question is, where's Fly going? Is he going to try to play the Azir here?
Or the Nocturne.
Oh, no, this isn't it.
The Nocturne!
I don't know about this one, Fly.
He's going to have his fun, regardless of if you want to or not. Cannon is also picked. And we are going ham. We're going deep with this comp.
This is the exact opposite style of play that Fly has made me very excited about recently, as we'll get the Leona here into the Alistair. Not going to be a terrible bot matchup by any means for Fredit Brion. A lot of lockdown, a lot of kill potential. But mid-Nocturne here, with a Hecarim, your damage profile, you know, is obviously lined up to where that's not going to be amazing for you, but you have a lot of ability to blow up, you know, Syndra and a Kai'Sa if you can get on top of them. You know, we're going to see lethality built very likely here for Nocturne, and there is a lot of ways you can use this as a global champion to lock down the top side. Kennen gets a stun, Nocturne flies up, and you know there is kill potential there, but the execution is so difficult, and your game sense has to be extremely on point. You have to have lane prio. There's so many things that have to go right for Fly, and I'm personally, I have to say, I don't trust his ability to pilot this when they're 0-1 in an extremely important series for playoffs. This is Afreeca taking a very big risk. I respect the courage, I'll give him that. And I'll be very happy to be proven wrong here. But this is going to be a very hard to execute draft for Afreeca.
Yeah, you know, I agree in the sense of like, in terms of playing the champions, you kind of just like press your R buttons, you go in. But how they go in and when they go in as a team, that I think will be the real sticking points. Like, do you actually make the right maneuvers there, or are we just going to see Fly flying across the map into his doom? Hopefully we don't get to see that, but certainly is possible. Whereas on the side of Fredit Brion, you know, very balanced, not really anything too big of a note on their side. So we'll see if it works out for them once again. It's no Seraphine Gnar, but certainly it has some nice team fighting potential.
There's a lot of extreme, I almost want to say extreme frontline for Afreeca. There's so many ways, like Nocturne ults in, everybody's blind. You get on top of the back line, Alistar comes through, helps peel the tanks away so that you can follow up with all the range that Bang is going to provide on this Varus. And he has so much poke. And then you can play that longer fight. Keen comes in with a flank, right? Hits a big slicing Maelstrom. Whew. Some good team fight potential here. But
Bang is a sneaky snake.
Sneaky.
Got in there and got out.
But yeah, I mean that's an important, nice little word here. What's your take? Do you feel like Afreeca can pilot this? Because you've commentated Fly for much longer than I have.
Yeah, I like how you highlight Fly specifically, the player. You know, I thought that his play in Game 1 was actually all right. I feel like overall, the game was basically decided when the one team fight did not go their way, right? And, you know, sometimes that's the way it goes. He had kind of an easy matchup into the Seraphine, and I felt like that benefited him. To kind of get him to just calm down and play like a straight-up game of League of Legends and not get too emotional about it is generally a benefit for Fly as a player. So I feel like his play today is pretty consistent overall. The thing is you know, Nocturne is very different compared to the Syndra. We haven't seen him play it yet, so there's not a lot of data in that sense for me to go off on, but as a player, I am a little bit worried coming into this one for Fly.
It's not a mechanical issue, as you pointed out. It's not about pressing the buttons. It's about understanding when to go in and having a really strong ability to judge macro and judge team fights and judge that when you ult in, you're actually going to be the team fight changer. And knowing like when that is possible, because a lot of players would play too safe even and not ult in, like, I think this fight is over. But you have to be able to judge those situations so well. And he as a player doesn't strike me as somebody who, like, I feel like his weakness is not in his mechanics, but actually in his judging of situations. So if it were, you know, if it was Faker or Closer on this pick, I'd be saying something different. It was really well handled by Bang there. Yeah, Hannah's just not in position to punish. But enough about that. Let's see how it. Let's stop talking about how it could go, and let's just let it unfold.
Yeah,
because it could be very hype.
You'll note that Yaharong right from the beginning, he starts tier.
Yep.
So not messing around with this. He knows that the Nocturne in the early levels is basically just, I press Q, I walk into the wave, I do my little swishy-swashy turnaround thingy, and I get a bunch of life back, I put up my spell shield so that I don't get comboed by the Syndra, and then I walk away. And he has taken advantage of that. And he's just gone for the tier early on here.
Yeah, I mean, this early stage is just Nocturne playing waves. Very basic.
Yeah.
And you're going to build a lot of stacks here.
He doesn't necessarily have prio on the Syndra. The one thing that he does have is that it takes a lot less mana for him to clear the waves. And with the Doran Shield, he can pretty much sustain, at least in the early levels, especially up against tier Syndra. And just be able to push that very, very nicely. As Dread is going to spot empty here. Just going to say hello.
Yeah, very aggressive positioning here for Delight, by the way, meanwhile on the bottom side.
Yeah.
Scaring me.
Fly knows he was here, so he's still going to stick around. He's taking a nice amount of damage, but with Hecarim around as well, that will be Umti having to back away.
Fly is actually almost losing a few minions here. That's a close call. I do feel like with how these early game fights are going to go, Afreeca have a lot of power with this Nocturne pick. And, you know, if he can continue to have this lane control because of the mana issue that you were talking about, which, again, is somewhat alleviated by this early tier build, that these upcoming Drake fights should be pretty favorable for Afreeca to take. And that can really give them a nice edge into the early game that can start a snowball that I think their comp is really going to need. So Drake is up. No team in position to take it right now, and you're going to have this very passive early game with these compositions. But I wonder who's going to be the first one to pull the trigger here, as it feels like Afreeca has enough lane priority to be the one to do that shortly, especially once Fly hits 6 here in just a second.
Yeah, Harong with really strange timing on his back actually allows Fly to get some damage done to that turret. It's going to be okay. He can just teleport back here. Not the big steal in the world. Just wanted to make sure he waited for the cannon wave, which is probably the right idea at the end of the day. That first Mountain Drake is going to be pretty nice for Fredit Brion, especially. There's a lot of dive and front-loaded damage in the comp of Afreeca, and if you can deny that, should be feeling pretty nice.
Yeah, especially with you know, the Leona on the bottom side has Eclipse, and this is so difficult to kill her if she has that extra stacking armor. And, you know, it's just a bit of a permanent lull state in this game. At the moment, we do see Umti hovering around this. He has 2 control wards, and he's actually going to try to sneak this away. It's so greedy, though. He walks it out, but this should be spotted.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, with level 6 Fly, who currently has Prio, this is risky.
About. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is where Afreeca should be very happy to take these fights.
Afreeca are coming in a little bit slow, though. This is going to get low, and actually, Smite even gets missed there, but Umti will be taking it at the end of the day. I think just the bit of Prio they had in that moment from the bottom side allows Fredit Brion to take that very important first drink.
Yeah, this is really nice for Fredit Brion because they get it without a fight. They don't have to fight against this comp that can be very difficult to deal with. And those 2 control wards, I think, were just enough to tell Afreeca Freecs, like, you know, we don't have enough vision to go in here. We know the control wards are up. We don't have great ways to identify where the Drake's health is at. And, you know, by the time they get close enough, it's just too late. And Umti's able to take it, like you said, even with the smite missing the execution. No contest whatsoever.
Yeah.
And Umti is, you know, starting to get a bit of a lead, in fact, in the jungle with this Udyr pick. And that's pretty terrifying for the Hecarim here. It's just been, at this stage in the game, low impact.
Yeah, hasn't been able to amount to too much just yet. And that definitely could have been a Drake fight where they could have made their stand. I want to point one thing out with the Hecarim build. He goes for the Merc Treads here, not the Ionian Boots, which is very common. I guess he really feels like he needs the tenacity. And, of course, the extra MR up against this composition. I mean, you're going into all AP top side of the map, and even Leona, and even a little bit from the Kaisa, like, not so bad, but also the amount of CC that they have.
The CC is, yeah.
You really need the tenacity, which is the big thing.
Especially against those Umti mini stuns that we're going to see so much of in these fights when he wants to engage in. So that's a nice little call out that you were able to see there.
Yeah, Ionian Boots are so nice because, you know, you get the cooldown on
Ghost.
your Ghost, especially, but also the fact that you just get more ultimates, more abilities to make plays, stuff like that is very nice for a playmaking jungler like Hecarim. That's a nice little headbutt from Lens, actually denies the plate from going down here.
Yep. So they are going to get the Rift Herald, a trade back 1 objective here on the map. Lots of pings coming through on the mid lane, question marks from Fredit Brion during this moment. And they just got the Herald for free with no contest because of the prio that Fly had. So, I mean, a Mountain Drake is really important, but it's not Mountain Soul here for Fredit Brion or anything like that, so it's going to be important for this moment in time, but they're really just speeding up their control over the Drakes. But what this gold in the Rift Herald will amount to could be more significant in the end. So it's going to give Afreeca a nice little lead here, but I feel like Afreeca should be pushing the envelope on a lot more than just laning at this game with this composition, or they could have picked so many different other champs for Fly in the mid lane.
Yeah, especially because of that, again, that Mountain Drake, you know, I don't want to keep pounding on it, but if you're just bro, you sit back with this team fighting composition with one Mountain and all the tankiness that you're going to have, and you are just golden. You're just like, yeah, okay, fine to sit here, lull state, whatever. Sit back, farm it up, try not to die. Nobody's getting too far behind. I guess Hoya's having the most problem in the top side, but he's building tanky. Shouldn't feel too much pressure. And
yeah,
bro are just loving it. They're sitting back. It's like they're watching a movie.
And there's a pretty good chance we're going to get, I mean, it's a 50-50 chance we're going to get Infernal Soul, which I think is going to be, you know, obviously great for both sides, but if Fredit Brion have Drake advantage and can actually get that soul much faster because of the Drake lead they have now, then that becomes so good for Yaharong. And unfortunately, Fly's ability to scale into the late game and assassinate targets just is so difficult the longer the game goes on, whereas Syndra is actually going to become more impactful with her kind of easy and free-to-do poke, plus her ability to actually stun and set up team fights and initiate team fights very safely. So I think this next Drake, like Afreeca cannot just be okay with losing, oh, we lost lane prio, we'll just let that one go. Like this next Drake you have to fight for, not because you want the Ocean Soul, but because you want to make sure that Fredit Brion are not accelerated towards that faster soul, regardless of whether it's Infernal or not, but especially because it could be Infernal. Like gonna give the bot lane these extra plate gold parts.
Yeah, hand over some extra gold over to Bang. I'll be feeling pretty good about that. Get him to a couple of his items here on the Lethality Varus that will allow him to get the poke in their composition that kind of softens him up before you go for the big dive, right?
Yes.
Kind of his role in this one. And then when everybody's diving on the back line, it's like, if Bang just has no focus on him, then he can do a lot of damage. Here we go! Finally, Fly is going to find his option onto the Syndra, and over the wall comes the Hecarim. That's what you do! Full speed ahead, but here's the follow-up, actually. Henna trying to get on in there. He's going to flash away after getting the kill. Now they're on top of Bang as well as Fly, who are too low. And they should be taken out eventually. That ground pound is massive from Lehens, trying to save their life, but I think at least Bang should be going down here, even if it is to Delight. They're going to hand over the kill to Umti at the end of the day, and that is big because that Ocean Drake is also up.
Yeah, this is the problem, right? You're going to give this up, which is better for Fredit Brion. The Mountain Drake, as you mentioned, is great for them. The Ocean Drake is going to be even more important for them than it is for Afreeca, arguably. We're going to find out what the soul is going to be, and if it's Infernal, this is actually a huge loss for Afreeca. If it's Cloud, it's significant, but it's not as significant. We'll find out what it is. It is Cloud, so Afreeca are going to be very happy about that. Yeah, it's the LCK. There you go. Afreeca very happy about that, but still, I mean, you could see the power of this Nocturne in an isolated pick. We're going to watch this replay. In an isolated pick, you know, it's very, very strong. As soon as Yaharong is disconnected here and Umti goes through, that's when he sees his chance. And Dread's like, okay, I can ghost, I can actually go to this wall, ult through. And they look for the blow up there. They get Yaharong, but now this comp doesn't have any sticking power. Dread's already used all of his escape tools. Henna gets the pick and gets over the wall. Fly can't do anything but try to get a fear off on the escape, and Lehens does everything he can, right? Like, he bumps Umti back, he hits the ground pound, but there's just no way to save Bang here. And these longer, straight-up team fights, this is a precursor to what the late-game team fights front to back are going to look like for Fredit Brion. Spoilers, they look pretty good. It looks really rough for Afreeca once they're kind of all-in. Blow-up attempt is finished. Even if it succeeds, even if you get a kill onto the Syndra, what happens next is very difficult for you.
Yeah. Exactly. So, staying alive when they go for those dives is going to be of the utmost importance for Fredit Brion. You see already some of the defensive itemization coming through. The arm guard for Yaharong, certainly going to be very useful up against Hecarim and Nocturne, who are going to be the biggest issues. We'll see if King can get some nice flanks, because while we already saw kind of a taste of what they can do, once you add in a cannon, and if he gets some big flanks, like, you know, you can be as tanky as you want, but if the dive is good and is clean, you can still get some crazy damage going. So
Yeah.
I mean, have to wait and see.
when Kennen is there, you know, you can have a dive like that, and then you can use Kennen's Slicing Maelstrom to disengage and then continue to fight. Like, for example, if that fight happened with him. But Afreeca, you know, ahead on a minuscule amount of gold. And I think they're, as I mentioned before, they're very thankful this is a Cloud Soul, because this could be very, very bad for them in terms of these upcoming team fights later on in the game. If it was otherwise the Infernal.
Yeah, really trying to shut down all the vision in the river here. Our Afreeca trying to open up lanes for the Hecarim and the Nocturne to really get in there. Umpty just playing with his food a little bit.
Trying to deny some CS here from Fly really hard. Not too successful. This is going to be a turret for Bang. He's going to get a lot of extra gold here. Dread is here, so I need to be careful about this. Fredit Brion. Not going to get that quite yet.
This top lane hasn't really shown us anything, right? The Kennen got ahead by like 10 CS, and it's just been stuck there for the rest of the matchup. Hoya has TP now, and he's tank Gragas, so it's not like he's going to be bopping some heads like we saw the last time around from Kana.
Yeah.
Surviving, getting tanky, loving that Mountain Drake that his team has.
You can see he's very happy to tank all of Keen's combos repeatedly under turret. That's kind of his job here. Second Rift Herald is going to be a really interesting question right now for Afreeca, because if Fredit Brion contested this, I don't know if it'd be worth it to fight for Afreeca, but it looks like Fredit Brion are just going to let it go. And this is the assumption that Afreeca are operating around right now, sending Varus to the bottom side. If Fredit Brion do try to contest and buy time, like Varus would be very happy down there in the duel. They don't actually commit to it though. It's kind of funny how neither of these teams are playing their compositions confidently. So we have this crazy like long lull state in this game where nothing is happening because neither team wants to press the go button first.
It's a fight over the Raptors.
Yeah, this is like as close to a fight as we're gonna get, I guess.
Yeah.
Even the bot side, both of them rotate up. They don't even actually try to push the issue.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing here is that Bro are really trying to slowly push forward their vision, and you can see that they have a couple of control wards that are very nice here. The Raptor fight kind of funny, but isn't going to amount to too much. Lahens now tries to push forward, regain some vision. They're going to catch the Udyr as the flash will come in goes the Nocturne. And the two of them are just kind of caught out here. Udyr desperately trying to get to safety, but now the Hecarim follow-up is way too much. As Yaharong does get baited into that one a bit, but Bro want to turn this one around. Delight is getting on in there. This is a 4v5, remember. Slicing Maelstrom still available. Fly takes a bunch of damage. The cast will be flashed, but Henna goes back in for it. And now, you know, as you mentioned, all the ultimates are down. How are you going to get on top of Henna is the real question.
You can't. I mean, this fight is almost impossible for Afreeca to really finish off.
They do have that stun onto Henna, but he will survive. Keen is the big guy who has to do the damage now. Bang still safe, though. The Slicing Maelstrom comes out, but it doesn't do much at all. And it's just used for disengage. The stun will go down, but he just gets orbed there by Yaharong.
Fredit Brion is such a good fight, team fighting composition for them. The longer the fight goes on, they have the advantage.
Oh, Hoya. Hoya baiting them all
So
the way
hard.
through. And that's going to be Bang going down as well. Lahen should survive, but that is in a very extended fight.
Oh my.
Bro's fight to take.
That was such a showcasing of the problems of Afreeca's comp, because it wasn't played badly by them by any means, but their composition has so many problems once you go deep onto Fredit Brion's side of the map as well. It's difficult to pull this off. Watch where Fly ults in. Like, you could think of, in a lot of ways, the Nocturne as somewhat of a soft counter to the Udyr, because in moments like this, there is no escape. Udyr usually just walks away from here with no punish, but he gets feared, and there's no way out. Then you commit Dread's ultimate, but all after the combo's down, Yaharong gets away. Look at where all of Afreeca are. You're on the wrong side of the map, and guess who's coming in? It's Hoya. And Delight here just tanks up so much of this damage. That's what I was talking about, and what you were talking about, the Mountain Drake, that you have so much tankiness on this Leona, and she draws all the aggro, and everybody's stuck here. Now Hoya's blocking you out, and we fast forward, Yaharong completely untouched. No one can close the gap, but we're just going to go straight to the Drake.
Yeah, we're getting in here. Team fight over the Drakes, every single one is very important as Delight tanking up a lot here in the Dragon Pit. Fly looking for it, is gonna get on top of Henna in that back line, but Dread is diving as well, and he's taking an immense amount of damage, and he will go down to Hoya, and Fly will as well. The dives coming in.
It's not over
yet. Not over. Keen and Fly actually doing a nice amount of damage. Fly still alive here, trying to get on top of Umti as Yaharong is alone now, 1v2. These fights are so hectic every single time. And this time, Afreeca will get the upper hand.
This time, Fly had, I mean, it wasn't just the ult this time for Fly. He got on top of Henna, who already used his mobility, and then was able to get his passive off. Like, his passive is proccing in the team fight. It's doing AoE damage to squishy targets. You don't get that kind of opportunity as a Nocturne all too often, especially with a comp like what Afreeca is running. And, I mean, this starts off really well here for Fredit Brion. Like, Lehens is caught, but look at Fly. He's on the opposite side of the team fight, and he's able to chase the Kai'Sa here. And it's crazy, too, because I don't think he knew that she was going to escape there at that moment in time necessarily, but it worked out really well because he gets the chase, is on top of everybody, and continues to do AoE damage while Keen helps for the peel. And Yaharong really wanted one more big stun in the fight, which is why he stayed so long. But he is going to escape with his life. But what a crazy fight. And we're going to have a pause here as we do in the LCK sometimes in series like
that hectic, and you have multiple threats. It's not just, okay, we just boop away the Nocturne and that's okay. It's like, yeah, the Nocturne ultimate comes in, then the Hecarim ultimate, and then the flank from Keen, and he's got the Slicing Maelstrom. And it's, you know, how many of these threats can Henna actually live through? Yeah. Not to mention that he's gone heal in this game. He doesn't even have cleanse. So, like, you know, can he survive against the amount of CC that is on the side of Afreeca with all of their dive is a big question. And if you could just totally isolate the Kai'Sa, it's going to be really nice if you are Afreeca, as Lehens gets caught a little bit, but at the end of the day, he is Alistair, so yeah, he'll be just fine.
You could see some of that poke you were talking about here from Bang. He went Duskblade here, and he's just chunking people down at range. It's very difficult to deal with that as Fredit Brion when you're going to these choke points, especially when if you do overextend, you walk into a composition that will blow you up. You see the Dread ultimate come out, and then suddenly Nocturne's in the backline. And unfortunately for Delight, like, he's not able to make as many proactive plays in this game because he kind of has to be Henna's bodyguard.
Yep.
He has to stick with him and shut down the Nocturne every time.
All right, well, this is also an option. You just find a squishy, immobile mid laner by himself up in the top lane. You take him out, although the trade will come in. It's the power of Kai'Sa, I suppose, able to reposition very nicely. Lehens is in no man's land here in the river, just gets caught out. And that's a couple of kills for just Yaharong here in favor of Fredit Brion, and now they're just going to go with the Baron.
It's a free Baron here now, and, I mean, despite the vision on it, it doesn't matter. There's nothing you could do if you're Afreeca at this stage. You could try to trade back a turret, and that's all you can hope for here. And even Delight is going to try to make that even more frustrating to deal with. I mean, these are trades you can't be taking if you're Afreeca in these fights. And Lehens has, unfortunately, the last few games Afreeca have played, often been caught out alone like he was in this situation trying to bring the fight back. So, sure, you have the ult here. Dread is there to peel to make sure no one else can rejoin. Then he comes up and gets the knockback. Yaharong is going to die, right? He ends up committing his ult. But there's so much damage put here from Henna, and no one else is there. Lehens is like, I'm going to save the day. Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong side of this fight. And even with a flash over, Delight has the easy Zenith Blade across. And, like, when you extend that deep, it's the same issue we had at that Drake fight where they got the initial pick, but then ended up losing several of their members. If you extend that deep against Fredit Brion, they're going to be able to collapse and kill you. Their comp has way more staying power once that initial burst is gone.
Yeah.
That still holds true.
And getting a Baron this early on, basically for free, right? You trade the life of Yaharong, but you get a couple kills in the Baron. You're loving that, that's fine. You can just push a lot of these turrets. Now, they don't have anyone actually sitting in the top lane, just empowering the minions and not allowing Fly to just split push. So that's a little bit of a macro mistake. You don't want to just let him get free turrets when you have the Baron. But you notice that Dread and Fly, they've got an agenda.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to be doing. They find a squishy target and they dive you.
They want to catch
regardless of where
Umpty.
you are.
When Umpty rotates over to deal with this, they want to try to lock him down, but I think with how carefully Umpty is playing this and the fact that he's Udyr, it just makes it so difficult to actually do so. But you can definitely play a little bit of baiting with this Nocturne who's going to push super hard and then catch those who try to rotate over. And unfortunately for Fredit Brion, sure, they ended up getting all of gold from this Baron, but they're not able to do critical damage. They should be able to turn this into a Drake as long as they group up, because this is a fight where, as Afreeca, you're going to be really hard-pressed to find an isolated target. Fredit Brion just all going to group up as 5. The Own is going to be nearby. Should be, right? Like, this is not a fight where Yaharong should get caught by himself.
This is a nice little break point for Fredit Brion. They have Zhonya's available for Yaharong and the stopwatch for Henna. Henna trying to get out of this one. That's going to be the stopwatch, but the engage is just insane from the side of Afreeca. They find 3 in the front, but at the same time, Henna will survive on the back of the exhaust, and nobody dies just yet. Yaharong is going to flash the wall, and all 5 members of Fredit Brion somehow, some way will survive that insane engage.
But how do you fight this now as Afreeca? You know, you didn't get those kills, and now you don't have any way to take that crazy fight. Your Wombo is done. Like, you're hard pressed to get more value out of a Hecarim ultimate than Dread just did there. But it's on cooldown now. They have so much sustain this comp does, and they have so much damage. Keen trying to look for the flank.
We have TPs coming through now. Lahen's looking for the flank, but look at the front line. Fly just dies, and as you mentioned, there's no Wombo. The Hecarim goes in, and he's like, okay, well, I dashed in. What do I do now? You do nothing. You run. You die. That is what happens. And that is going to be the triple kill now for the Kai'Sa. Afreeca should have just let this one go because Fredit Brion in a much stronger spot after they blew all their ultimates.
Afreeca really, I mean, they're running out of options here. You can feel the desperation. And, you know, I don't think this is a Fly issue. This is a composition issue, you know, to revisit how we started the conversations off here. Like, he goes through.
Look at this engage.
Yeah, look at this engage. It's like, you're not going to get a better one than this. And look at the fear. It's onto Yaharong on the edge there. So he actually survives. He does a lot of damage. Henna dashes right to him. And they're able to kite away.
Yeah.
Even though there's a ward here, there's just no follow-up damage. There's no range. They blew everything on that all in. Yaharong flashes away here. And from that moment on, like, we don't even have to watch the rest of this. We know how it goes. Because if you're Keen, you don't have your slicing Maelstrom anymore. You can't rejoin. Dread can't grab anybody. It's just like, it's an open and shut case, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it showcases that this composition is a ultimate-based wombo combo comp.
Yeah.
Where you dive in, you get the squishy underbelly of the composition on the other side, and then you win from there without your tools. But once you run out of your tools, you just have to run away.
Yeah, it's like,
you just don't have anything left.
Yeah, you came into, you know, to a fight with like a golden gun, but only had 2 shots, and you'd missed both shots. So it's like, well, now you're out of ammo. It doesn't matter what kind of weapons Fredit Brion have. You don't have anything. Like, you have to get those 2 kills. Like, you have to get 2 kills right away, and hopefully onto the damage, especially.
Yeah. You remember what I said before the fight even began, like the stopwatch for Henna, the Zhonya's for Yaharong, the locket for Delight, like all of these things came in really big, actually, just to save all of the carries and keep everybody alive. Because while it was like a huge wombo combo onto multiple members, that keeps everybody grouped up for the locket. Everybody's got shields and heals and all that good stuff. So yeah, it enables Fredit Brion to survive. Not to mention the Mountain Drake.
Yes, I mean, that comes in big here. I mean, it's not massive, but it's a small thing that starts to add up. As Dread,
he's Hecarim. Prancing around the rift, having a jolly old time.
I'm really worried for Afreeca here because they don't have the ability to even split push very safely now either anymore with all this mid push. And right now, Fredit Brion are just pushing all these waves, waiting for the Baron to spawn. They can take that fight before the Drake comes up. That is one place where if you fight around the Baron and Dread has another engage like that, again, they handled it very well. Like, there was a really nice flash from Yaharong. He got out. Henna did his killer instinct in the correct direction, was able to get out of the fray there. On a Baron fight, you know, if there are a lot of variables, like, this can still work for Afreeca. Just because it didn't work last time, they didn't discard those skills last time, doesn't mean they can't do it this time. But if Fredit Brion just have the vision control, you can't even ult in. Like, you can't even catch any ISO members. You have no information whatsoever. This comp fails when it has to fight blind more than it does when you have a straight-up fight.
Yeah, from ahead, I mean, this would have looked really fantastic. But this is what happens when you're blind. You have to send in your Alistar. Now, Delight is in the front line, taking a lot of damage. The Varus ultimate is going to sail wide, and the Unleashed power is enough from Yaharong to take down the cow. As Empty, he's just following the Kennen. You know, the Kennen can't really 1v1 the Udyr right now, and if you just zone him away, then you can't Slicing Maelstrom. It's great.
And yeah, if he has to use a Slicing Maelstrom to escape that or to try to trade there, then he doesn't have it for the fight. Yeah, essentially what you're saying. Yeah, and like it's a waste, and then you can't team fight anymore. Yeah. Speaking of can't team fight, without Alistar here, you just simply can't. You don't have any frontline, you don't have any staying power. They'll just turn and kill the Nocturne if he ults in. So Fly's just trying to push mid. They sent Keen to the bottom lane. But with another Baron up here for Fredit Brion and the gold lead that they have, I mean, we're talking about inhibitors now for this Baron.
Yeah, very different Baron from the last one.
And this is the vision problem. You know, you said it straight up, like, you have to send your Alistar in to check. Like, I don't know where they are. You could have otherwise checked with Varus. That might have been the smarter move, but, well, you know, doesn't matter either way. You have no real options here as Afreeca, and if you don't check, the Baron might be the first thing you see on the on the kill feed popping up. They took it. Like, it's a lose-lose situation there.
Poya is actually the highest level in this game. Funnily enough, level 17. It's been very consistent. You know, very quietly having a great game on Take Gragas. 3-1 and 8. Some good casks for some peel in the last couple of team fights certainly helps out. Yaharong. This is a rough game for a Cinder to play, right? This is not just straight up and easy. As Umpty is going to find Keen here. Dread has to try to help him out. As now the Nocturne ultimate going to be used just to deny vision. That's not it.
That's tragic, you know? I mean, how can you win this fight ever now? Like, how has it ever happened?
Umpty's still going, right? There's no reason to stop here. They're just going to engage right to the back line. The cleanse is huge, but Bang now. Really nice exhaust onto Henna, as he is going to be piled up on here a little bit in the brush, but it's not enough. They don't have any follow-up. The ultimates are
Yaharong wins the exchange against Fly on the other side, too.
Yeah. No ultimate for the Nocturne, so he's just lost. And this comp, for the side of Afreeca, it was naturally coin flippy. Either you get ahead early on or you just lose the game. And now we're in that latter half where you just lose the game. Fredit Brion, really great stuff. Great consistent play in the series, and they're going to take it.
Yeah. You know, I thought we were going to see an extended series between these two. I mean, I really thought there were a lot of issues with the composition that Afreeca had in the first game later on. But this game, I mean, they took a massive risk in draft. I don't think anyone will watch that draft again and tell you, well, this was a safe choice. This was a